How's it going, Tyler?
How you doing, man?
Excellent. Good to meet you. Talk with you for the first time.
Yeah, jeez.
This is the EricSwannRacing.com podcast. I believe it's going to be number 77. And
Oh,
so thank you for coming on, talking to me for an hour or so today. Do you have any time limit?
not really, no.
Okay. I actually have a date tonight, so I can't go too long.
Oh,
Got a first date with the girls, so we're going to go have some pizza and just hang out, eat at the bar.
okay, cool. I'll try and not ramble on too much then.
Well, I'll let you talk as much as you want. I'm just looking to help promote racers and help more people learn about the sport.
Sweet. Thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that, especially being my whole situation, just moving here and all. So, yeah, that's really cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah, and full disclosure, I wasn't following you up until a couple days ago when my buddy said, "Hey, you should check this guy out. He's up and comer, and I really like his story."
Yeah, I'm still relatively new, I haven't really been out there as much, especially because, with the whole COVID and everything happening as well, I haven't been able to go out and travel a lot. So we've just been racing in our regional area. So I race in CCS Midwest mainly. And it was actually a big thing. We were going to be going to Motor America and everything, but unfortunately we've been worried about budget stuff. So we've just been having to sit back here. And then that thing popped up on the screen. So we had to train that up. And yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, especially also being over here, how big it is. Like the world is massive over here. I mean, South Africa, we're pretty big with our racing. We like our racing, but it's nothing as big as over here. So it's like a whole new world.
In terms of population, what is the difference in population size? I think we have like 330 million people in the United States. What about in South Africa?
We're like 8 million, 7 million, so around there.
Smaller.
Yeah, we're a little bit smaller. And of that, maybe like a 10% to enjoy the racing and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's crazy.
So you feel it's way more prevalent over here than it is over there?
Oh yeah. Well, with us, we tend to have a lot of our best riders and up and coming stuff. They go overseas. So we have a good amount of really fast riders, but a very small number, if that makes sense, kind of thing. So it's kind of a case of, I noticed when I came over here where the separate regions is like, it's literally the CCS Midwest region is pretty much the size of the entire of South Africa's Superbike scene. It is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's actually really interesting because I race Supermoto a lot. That's where I started racing, was in Supermoto. And we have a Supermoto series at home, which is actually getting bigger than our nationals at home. It's because the things are bulletproof, and a lot of guys have realized, hey, that's great training and stuff. So with that, we're getting a bigger influence. We're getting more people in because it's a lot more cost effective to buy a YZ450 than it is to buy a ZX10.
Sure.
And with that, it's growing. Like I've noticed since we've left, apparently the series has doubled, but we're still very small compared to over here.
Yeah, I've just recently got into Supermoto myself, and I found the miles to dollar ratio is off the charts. People don't realize how cheap it is.
Oh,
I mean, not only is the machine cheaper, but your operating cost per weekend, per time that you use it is significantly lower. You go through tires. I mean, I haven't changed a tire yet on a Supermoto, although I didn't own it, but on the road racing, you could use a set a weekend. A lot of guys use 2 rears and a front. If you're trying to be really competitive and you might have, 6 events a day, if you're doing like all the classes, then depends how many tires you want to use, because after a while, you're not going to be able to push like those other guys, and you're just out there riding and not like racing anymore. You're just trying not to crash.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if I'm being honest, if it wasn't for Supermoto, I wouldn't be road racing. It was kind of a case of at home that the world was so small, and where we had, it's actually like a really long story. I was doing endurance racing off-road in South Africa. I went to 2 races of hell, and I decided, no, I can't do this anymore. And we figured, well, we just bought these endurance racing bikes because off-road's massive in South Africa. And we were like, well, what are we going to do with them? Because it's like brand new KTMs. And then one of our friends, he raced in the Supermoto series. He's like, hey, well, come check it out. And the bug bit with us, and it was actually really crazy. We found like whatever wheels we had lying around, we just shoved them into the bikes. And ever since like that first day I went riding with it, it was kind of chaos. I crashed multiple times, you know, being on the tire for the first time. But ever since that day, it's just been my biggest form of racing. I moved over here, and this thing is very much overtaking that. But it's the best form of training. It's the best way of, because I feel like a YZ450 or any 450 on a go-kart track feels exactly the same as like a superbike on a big track. You get the same G-forces, the same knee down, the same drift in. It's such an awesome training bike. And in America, it's not like at home where we pay like the equivalent of $50 and we can race our ZX10s on the track for the weekend. Over here, it's a little bit different. So finding that practice time, it's really hard. And we're just so happy we found one of the track nearby that allows us to ride the supermotos. And that's really been helping me build up to get up to pace over here, you know?
For sure. And it's a whole different riding style. Are you a foot out guy, or do you take the road racing knee down?
I'm a knee down guy.
Yeah.
The second I got my knee down for the first time, there's no way in hell I'm putting my leg out. It's just too fun to drag me.
Now, what about in the dirt? Do you put your foot out for the dirt?
We just we pretend the dirt's not there. We just don't do it. We just don't do it.
I gotcha. And then are there jumps at these courses as well?
Well, what we tend to do is we make the go-kart track pretty much just ride the go-kart track. We don't really include the dirt sections.
Okay.
Mainly because I've ridden a motocross track about 4 times in my life, and of the 4, 3 of them I smashed my face in. So, you know, we're going to avoid the dirt at all costs. And at home as well, the guys just decided we ain't going to touch the dirt. These bikes are too nice to do that. So I never knew that there was dirt sections in Supermoto until we moved here.
So that's motard then, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. There's actually, we race a lot. There's a series up in Road America, which is a supermoto series that they run on their go-kart track. And it's actually picking up like hell. The series has grown a lot, and they getting like full on camera crews in on it now. It's going to be really cool. And there as well, it's pretty much a case of you could choose leg outs or knee down, but there's no dirt on the track.
Okay.
So, which makes it's a lot of guys are saying it makes it very difficult because they set up their bikes to have the dirt, but you know, coming back over here, they just change it all up, and that track it's crazy. Once you start going fast on it with a knee down, it's so technical. But again, it helps out with this thing, like riding supermoto for 10 minutes on that track. It feels like I can do a 2-hour stint on one of these things. It's so much more technical.
Yeah, you know, I did supermoto, both motards, so pavement only, and mix, and I'm great on the pavement. Comes to the dirt, I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Just go by me. Like, just don't worry about me. I'm on the inside, you know, go around.
I don't know how you can trust that. I mean, how can you trust slick tires on dirt? Like, what the hell?
I fell over 3 times, and it was no issue. Like, there was no injury. I was going like 2 miles an hour both times. I washed out the front. And then one time I lost the rear right after the dirt section. I was like, oh, well, I got on it too hard, and my tire wasn't clean yet. So, and there was quite a big jump, and I mean, there's like a step down, and then the step up, and then I don't know what you call it, like a kicker after that. So it was pretty cool. I had never been on a motocross track in my life. I have been on a dirt bike a handful of times at my cousin's place up north on his IT 175, you know, like 1975 dirt bike. So never anything modern.
Fantastic.
So I borrowed my buddy's bike. He runs the track day organization, Great Lakes Supermoto, Will Wildner. And he invited me out to Auto City Speedway in Clio, Michigan, in like Flint, just north of Flint, I think. And it was a blast. I'd do it again for sure. And now they do a lot of the indoor 50cc riding. So they got 50cc's, 88 big bore kits on these indoor kart track couple miles from my house, and they I mean 50 maybe 100 people show up for these events and be riding, and there's timing and scoring, and it's racing, and there's a 2-hour endurance race that just happened yesterday, Sunday.
Freaking that's crazy. Man, I saw a picture of that a while ago, and I'm like, oh man, I need to get in on that. I really want to do that because, oh dear God, winter is hell with the lack of riding, you know. I mean, we're really lucky. We actually have a motocross track that's about 45 minutes away. It's an indoor track. And it's like really becoming like my plan B kind of thing. I swore I never touched the dirt again, but sitting up here, this is going to be our third winter, I think. And that dirt is kind of looking appealing after sitting inside for quite a while. But we tend to do a lot of trips down south, again, also with Supermoto. We're actually next weekend, we're going to a track called Bushnell Motorsports Park.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's in Central Florida. And a lot of the big guys have gone there. I actually heard about it by watching Instagrams from like Ashton Yates and stuff like that. But it's now become like a yearly pilgrimage for us. Me and my dad, we go heading down there. It's really awesome track.
That sounds like a blast. And, still talking about the Supermoto a little bit, if you wanted to get into it, you could buy a brand new Honda CRF, which is, I guess, the preferred chassis. That's what nearly everybody is on for this particular racing series. And everybody's on that bike, and a brand new one, $1,600 off the showroom floor.
Seriously?
You just need a new set of tires from the knobbies to the slicks, and maybe a different set of bars if you want to do that for your ergonomics. But that's really all people do. I mean, you can upgrade a lot of stuff, but just to get on the track and to get into it, say $2,000, and then I think his events are about $70 for like a track day or something. For an entire, when I did the track day up at Auto City, it was $70 for the entire day. And that's like, it's not a full day. It's not like 8 to 5, but it was like 10 or 11 to 5.
Yeah.
Which is plenty of time.
That's, you're tired by that time. You're not exactly asking for more track time.
Yeah, so, and they didn't have group sessions. It was kind of like a free-for-all. Like, there was a novice, intermediate, advanced, which I liked because it wasn't a huge crowd, maybe 100, less than 100 people. Probably, and not everybody's on track at the same time. People are in the pits and working on their bikes and
exactly, yeah,
having fun. So there'd be children out there, like 5, 6-year-old, and I'm out there, and like you just be respectful. You're gonna get by them and no problem. It's not like you're gonna hold you up for more than 2 seconds. So
exactly.
And then just for a while, I was like, follow me. I'm gonna show you around. I want to show you the line, and then I'm having fun working with this kid I don't even know.
Well, yeah, that's the crazy thing. I mean, like when I first rocked up, it was my very first day, and in South Africa, it was on a public holiday, and we were kind of like, okay, well, let's hope no one's there. Let's hope we have the whole track to ourselves, or we'll figure it out. And we decided that day was the day that everyone and their twice removed cousin was riding a Supermoto. There was like 50 guys on track. It was crazy, and I'll never forget, I bailed quite a lot. My suspension was still set up for the dirts. I had high-rise bars, so I looked like I was riding a GS around there. It was absolutely crazy. And then I'll never forget when I was riding there, the national guys were there for the magazine to do a photo shoot to promote the series. And I went into the turn at the end of the back straight, and I'm braking at my normal points, which at this point, these guys are like braking way after me. And I just remember the guy coming up the inside of me, drifting it like hell. And like, oh shit. So I move over. Then another guy comes around the outside of me, drifting it like hell. And then another guy comes braking next to me, giving me a thumbs up. And I'm like, oh, okay. So it was like the biggest problem. But as I pull into the pits, everyone just comes up to me and like, okay, well, listen, we're riding behind you. We see you here for the first time. Try this with your suspension. Try doing this. Go on this line. Follow this guy. He'll help you out, kind of thing. It's so much more of a relaxed vibe, which is what I really enjoy. And again, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be in the road racing scene,
And nobody's asking you for like $100. Okay, I gave you that advice. Now where's $100?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's like it costs $100 to get in the gates. So $100 to get in the gates. So I mean, everyone's just kind of free balling it. It's really awesome. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, as everybody's trying to help themselves and help other people and learn as you go, and it's just a cool environment. I've never been to that Bushnell track, but I'm actually leaving Thursday for Daytona. I'll be working the ARMA event for the high banking at Daytona coming up this weekend.
Yeah, that's gonna be freaking awesome. I only did one ARMA event. I was hoping to do more, but yeah, that's a freaking awesome series. Like their big event down in Barber. Yeah, that's crazy. I thought that was the most amazing thing. Yeah, it is crazy.
And this will be my first event with ARMA. I've never worked an ARMA event or been to an ARMA event, but actually many episodes ago, I podcasted with the chairman of the board, Arthur Cowitz, and that was pretty cool.
Damn, that sounds sick.
Yeah, so just trying to talk to all sorts of people, whether they're racers. I mean, he's still riding and racing. He's up there in age, and that's awesome to see that. I hope to be that person one day.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what my dad always said. I mean, this bike is my dad's. It's his ZX7. It's his race bike, and he's said to multiple people he's done racing. He did that whole thing in South Africa. He's done with that. But he said, to this day, until I physically cannot do it anymore, I will be riding a bike. And every weekend, like, we have our supermotos. I have one, and he has one exactly the same spec next to it. And he's out there every weekend with me, kind of thing. It's crazy.
So tell me about his history a little bit. I'm sure that's how you got into it. Your dad probably helped you out, and is still riding and racing with you.
Yeah, that's crazy. So my dad has been involved forever in bikes. I think he started when he was like 7 years old. You know, he's really been, the bug instantly bit. And I think it was also from my grandfather. My grandfather used to also race motorcycles back in South Africa.
The three
So,
generations.
yeah, exactly. So then my dad came along on the scene, and it just instantly bit him, and he's just been going with it. He had a lot of like other stuff come along. So like when I was about 8 years old or around there kind of thing, we got hectic into cycling, and that's where I thought I was going to be. I thought I was going to be the next professional cyclist coming along. But my dad was involved with bikes for so long that when he tried to go away from it, he just kept coming back to it. And he actually got back into the game on a Laverda 750 in South Africa. It was a beautiful bike. And I was throwing my toys, like, how the hell could you do this to me? I want to be a professional cyclist, yada, yada. And then he said to me, if you stop complaining for like 10 minutes, maybe I'll buy you a bike too. And then all of a sudden, all of that just went out the window. I didn't care about cycling or anything like that again. And he taught me how to ride. It was really cool. And I know that he really wanted me to get into it because he was doing track days as all the time, racing, going around all the other guys at the tracks. And his biggest thing is he wants to have the most beautiful bike there, you know, which is a big issue with me because I tend to, you know, crash every now and then, and it's always a big war between us. Like, how the hell could you do this? But we tend to get okay with each other. And the second I started really getting into it and started racing, that's when he decided to pull out. Like, I don't want to go into the racing world. I want to focus mainly on me, which I really appreciated. And yeah, pretty much to this day, we're not really doing that much track days anymore because around by us, we're still trying to get our bearings. You know, we got the racing world together. We know what we're doing over here, but we still track days and stuff like that. We're still trying to figure out. And with the season that we have between supermoto racing and CCS racing, we barely have any time on the weekends. So it's actually like this off season is like my dad's rest. He's like working like hell because the team is really just me, my dad, and a can-do attitude. So he's like working like hell. I'm always so depressed when winter comes around, but my dad's just like, oh, finally, it's over for a little bit.
Rest and recovery, yeah, exactly. And maybe plans developing for next year type of thing.
So next year, our idea is get more experience on this bike. I mean, I only have about, I think I've ridden this bike a sum total of 9 times now. Okay. Now, I'm still pretty new on it. I'm getting pretty comfortable in it. Like at Black Hawk, I'm getting down into the low, like 112s. I'm feeling okay with it. It just, my aim of the game is, ever since we first moved here, is to race in Moto America. I really want to be there. That is my ultimate goal, is to race in Moto America, because overseas, it's kind of massive. I mean, everyone in South Africa knows about it. A lot of guys in Europe know about it. I know that it's being promoted like hell over there as well. So it's kind of a case of we need to get ourselves together, mainly with me getting experience, but also because me and my dad were so new to this game. This bike, I raced 400s last year, and we knew how to get that working. We had a general idea, and we were like, well, you know, it's just a slightly bigger bike. It'll be a little bit different. It's really different. So we want to get a little bit more experience and figure that out. And then hopefully maybe do a couple of wildcard races in Moto America. I'm hoping to do, there's a few tracks I know really well. And that's something that we're also stressing about, you know, is the lack of track times around here. We haven't done much traveling. But yeah, I definitely want to be there. That's my overall goal, is to be in that series.
And so I would assume all these tracks are fairly new to you. Are you doing anything as far as like playing them on a simulator, whether even if it's in a car sim, you can still learn the tracks that way? Are you doing anything like that?
That's so, like you said, I know nothing. I have absolutely zero reference on these tracks. And that was my biggest worry with Moto America, is the fact that you don't have so much practice time to learn. And I tend to want to have as much as I can. But what I tend to do is, if I'm ever going to a new track, like in November, I went to Barber to go just do a track day and everything. And I make sure that every new track I go to, I try and find a video on YouTube of one of the guys riding around there. Like, for instance, I had a good video with Heron running around there, and I studied that while I'm doing gym or doing cardio. I got on the screen and I just watched that video on repeat for like an hour. So
Yeah.
I try and I at least got that layout. I can hear where he brakes, I can hear where he accelerates, and it does help me get an idea. I kind of have a general idea of what's going on.
For sure. Yeah, there's a lot of different methods to help learn a track, but in a pro race, you have only a couple sessions. You got practice, qualify, race. It's pretty quick.
Yeah, it's, to me, that is something crazy. I mean, I'm kind of getting used to it. Back home in South Africa, we had it very differently, especially in the Supermoto series, because we had a lot of guys. We had like the full Fridays, like a free practice, and then like the Saturday you have free practices in the morning, and then qualifying, and then one race, like the World Superbike kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then we rocked up over here, and it's like kind of hit the ground running and go with it. It was a big shock to my system, because I tend to really rely on my confidence is knowing that, okay, I know what's going on around here. And at the beginning, I was very much like, whoa, what the hell? And then also to be translated from my South African short circuit racing, like go-kart racing, to like these big circuits, that was a massive adjustment in my mind as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of did, like, everything hit me at once. But I was like, yeah, I'm now getting really comfortable with it. I'm learning how to deal with all those kind of situations, especially, with this thing, you get guys that come flying past you like hell. And like you sit on them and you check, my line and everything is not that different, but there's so many little things that these things need that the other bikes you can kind of get away with. Like on the 400, I'm a little bit bigger, I'm not such a smaller guy, so I'm able to pull that 400 around. And if I'm offline, you can just pull it back in. This thing, the second I got on it, I didn't know what to do, because it like, once it's in that spot, it's stuck. It ain't moving, kind of thing. That was a massive adjustment in my head as well. But it is really cool. I'm starting to figure it out the more and more I ride. I think it's just seat time, trying to figure out more and more time on the bike.
For sure. And what do you think is maybe some of the benefits or downsides of the Yamaha versus the Kawi? Because they're both like the number 1 and 2 bikes. I mean, there's the KTM, you got some other bikes in there, but those seem to be the main one too.
So personally, I've ridden both. I've felt both. I definitely love the Yamaha because it handles so nicely. It really does feel a lot more. I get more confidence when I throw it into a turn. I tended to find, I don't know if it was just our setup and everything, but on the ZX, I did find it felt a little bit squirrely and then a little bit like chattery, but it's fine. It's whatever. Like I said, I don't have much experience on that one. I have mostly on the Yamaha. But the thing I do notice when I race against other Kawasaki's is those things have got power. They've got a little bit more power on me. And I noticed that if I get a good drive, I can hold it, I can deal with them, but you got to really push out of that turn to make sure you can latch on the back, because if you don't, these things really pull away from you. So
yeah,
that's my main difference from what I can see.
And also it seems like there's maybe more of a support system for Yamaha in Moto America than there is Kawasaki. So maybe that's why a lot of people tend to ride Yamahas.
I think, yeah, I do agree with that. I think also it's because the Yamaha has been pretty dominant in the series, like around the world as well. I don't know why they stopped selling them. Like, that was the weirdest thing to me.
Yeah, no more R6.
Yeah, like what the hell? It's such a nice bike. What the hell? But I do know that you can still buy that GYTR edition, which is pretty cool. So at least they're still selling it. But I know that it's eventually going to run out. They're just selling old stock that they made. So that's something that I'm worried about. But the backing that you have with both this and the Kawasaki is amazing. When I rocked up at the track for the first time with this thing, because I think we rocked up at the second last race of CCS, the guys can walk up to you and it's like, whatever you need, whatever you are worrying, whatever you're feeling, everyone knows what to do about it, because these things have been raced for so long that they know exactly what little things need to be done to make it work, kind of thing. And that is very helpful. It really did help me get more comfortable with it really fast.
And so what tracks have you hit so far?
Okay, so far I've hit Black Hawk. I hit Road America. Road America I've only done on a 400, which it feels like a highway. Good God. I've done Road America. I've done Autobahn. I've done Barber. Uh, I've done Gingerman. Gingerman is also really cool. Yeah, I've done a lot of also short circuit tracks. So I've done Bushnell. There's a track right by us at 61 Cartway. I've done Road America's go-kart track. I really want to bring up that number. I want to go check out all the other places, at least do more Moto America focused tracks like VIR and all that kind of stuff, New Jersey and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'd love to do Brainerd and Laguna Seca, the Ridge, even Sonoma, even though it's not on the calendar. It might come back. I hope it does at some point. But you know, there's actually, yeah, there's I don't know, but there's an opportunity to do a race event at Laguna Seca for an amateur race organization if you're interested. And there's even you can rent bikes out there, so you don't necessarily have to drive.
Sure. That'd be crazy because that's the one thing that scares us away. I mean, South Africa is a really small country. I mean, compared to we thought it was big, but compared to America, it's tiny. We were always complaining about like having to drive to our track that was like an hour away. Now it's like your closest one is an hour and a half. Yep. So when we see California, it's like in a whole other continent to us. It's so freaking far. But I would love to go racing there. I just know that over there it's pretty big and it is open for a large amount of the year. I would definitely love to go try something out there. Shit, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I did a podcast with a guy who owns Track Days, Track Day Company out there in California, and he also runs CRA, which is California Racing Association out there. And it's like the first time they're going to Laguna Seca for a pro race in like 40 years. I'm sorry, for an amateur race. So the amateurs don't usually get to race there because I'm sure the track is so expensive, you know.
Oh, I couldn't imagine.
And
also, isn't there like a noise restriction or something like that around there as well?
Decibel noise restriction. I don't know what the number is, maybe 108 or less decibels. So you got to have inserts in your exhaust, which might make it a little bit slower, but I mean, you got to race to the conditions, right?
I mean, exactly. If you can ride Laguna Seca, I'll do anything to ride on that track. Frickin' hell.
So, yeah, I think that was like episode 70 or so with Dustin Coiner.
There you go. Sweet. I'll go check that out.
And I would also love to interview the guys who actually rent those bikes. I think it's Ride Like a Pro is the name of the company, and they rent out bikes for track days and racing. And I think there are other companies out there. I want to say Bobblehead Moto does it too. Yeah, there's a couple of companies who rent bikes for racing purposes. So you can find them out there.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is I would actually really enjoy to do that if they have something going like during the off season. That'd be freaking awesome.
Well, they race all the time. They're racing in February, January out in California. I mean, they're racing like next week in Florida. So yeah.
Damn.
So I mean, they're racing quite a bit of the season below the snow belt, and that's one of the reasons why I want to move. I live in Michigan. And it's snowing here and it's cold all the time. So I'm like, I want to move somewhere where it's not cold, where I don't have to put on, you know, a hoodie and 2 long sleeve shirts and boots just to feel my toes.
Yeah, exactly. I know exactly how you feel. I mean, bear in mind the coldest in South Africa in Fahrenheit is probably going to be like 40, 35. That's the coldest we get. It's like kind of a case of you ride all year, you just rock up to the track a little bit later, just so it warms up a little bit. And we moved here, and it's like during the winter, everything shuts down. I'm like, why are you shutting down? It's like, give it like a month. You'll see why. You'll see why. Holy freaking crap! Jeez, that's like hell.
Yeah, it's a different world. You know, I was just looking on national disaster deaths by state to figure out where to live, and Michigan is. Most people die in Michigan or in this area from the cold. They die from cold. It's a real thing. You know, if you're my buddy Skylar Kopp, who recommended me to talk to you, he's in Virginia right now. They just lost power. So he's working on a generator, you know, keeping things warm that way. But it's like, man, if you don't have a generator, you don't have power, and that could be a really bad situation.
Yeah, a little bit. Freaking hell. I mean, we used to have that because in South Africa we have load shedding, so the power goes out quite a lot, and we're used to running off generators. But even in our climate, with hardly any bad weather. Without power, it sucks. So I
Yeah.
can imagine over here, freaking hell.
And where are you located again?
I'm currently in Chicago.
Chicago. So
Uh,
it's pretty cold, not too far away from me.
yeah, no, it's freezing. In my standards, this is freezing. This is hell.
My brother lived in Minnesota for a couple of years, and I think at one point, at like peak coldest temperature was negative 50 degrees
Ooh.
Fahrenheit.
You see, the crazy thing to me is I didn't even think it was possible to get that cold. I
Yes.
genuinely thought like anything below -2 could like only be man-made. I didn't think it was actually possible.
Yeah,
Freaking hell.
it's from another world, and it's crazy. But is there anything on your mind you wanted to talk about today? I see you have bison on your shirt.
Oh yeah. Well, that was actually a really cool thing. So when we first moved here, of course, I'm still trying to figure out a lot of the lay of the land. And my one thing in my bucket list was like, I need to have a custom suit. You are a professional racer when you have a custom suit. That's the cool thing to me. And at home, it wasn't really an option. And when we moved over here, we went to our first CCS race, and we met Boston Racing, and they were just the coolest and friendliest guys. And I didn't actually know that they made suits until I actually went to the trailer and saw it. Up until then, they were just normal, cool guys. And they have been involved with me for what, like, when I first arrived, every single race they were there. They were checking in on us, seeing how we're doing, just being really cool guys. And they were like, "Hey, man, would you like want to be part of our program and join our system," kind of thing? And I was like, "Yeah, damn straight up, dude. That sounds freaking awesome." So we talked about a whole contract and everything. And I got their first suits, and I felt like I made it. I've peaked. This is the best thing ever, kind of thing. And we just been involved with them ever since because they're just really the coolest guys. They're growing like hell as well. I've seen them like popping up everywhere on a lot of the guys, and the quality as well is just amazing. Especially with me, I mean, I recently upgraded to a YZ450 and the Supermoto, and I don't like to admit it, but I was still learning that bike and trying to push the limits as much as I could. And over a 5-day weekend, like 5 track days, I've crashed like 4 times. I was really baiting like hell on that bike, trying to push it as far as I could. And that suit felt nothing. Yeah, I was genuinely amazed at that because the suits I had in South Africa, it got banged up like hell because a lot of the guys, they're really close racers.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that I had to adapt when I first moved here, actually, was I'm so used to having like tire marks on my thighs because guys ram into you and like slamming your head on the foot peg when you flip it over. When I came over here, I did my like late and aggressive braking and all that kind of stuff because that's just how I used to race. And I was getting into trouble with quite a lot of the guys on the track actually because they're like, "Freaking hell, dude, you want to calm it down a little bit?"
Yeah.
And then it's still something that I'm working on. I'm still trying to be careful about, especially on this thing. Jesus Christ, it's terrifying diving, guys. I'm still like a little bit hesitant with it. But once I got here and I got that suit figured out, and I tried on the actual Boston suit. I got into close quarter racing on Supermoto, and the guys bashing into you, tires on you, and all that kind of stuff. And when my other suit just got torn to hell, this thing actually dealt with it pretty well. I was
Pretty
really
high
happy
speed,
with how it turned out.
pretty high speed crashes.
I've had a couple. I've had a couple. I think my worst one to date would actually be on this bike. I was being stupid. I was being really stupid. It was actually quite a fluke how we got this thing. I was racing on a SV in the beginning of the year to get into the Twins bike race or series and everything, and we were doing development and building it. And it had so many issues. It had like weird problems and all that kind of stuff. And when we eventually got it running, it just wasn't competitive. It was a lot more stock than we thought it was. And at Autobahn, I was able to run within like a second of Jody Barry. So I was pretty happy with that. But I was like second last because I had no acceleration on the straights. I had to make it all up on the braking zone. So we quickly got rid of that bike. And I got back onto my 400. And I carried on racing through the series of the 400, and we're like, well, at the end of the year, we'll maybe buy a new R7 or something like that. And at the second last round of the CCS Midwest region, there was a guy who had this bike sitting in the pits, and it had a for sale sign on it. And I was like, oh, that's a really nice thing. So we were walking around and we are talking to him. And me being stupid, I was like, would you consider a trade? And I offered my 400. And he was like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. And I was hit like, whoa, what the hell?
What do you just
who
do,
trades
right?
who trades a 400 for a 600? But once I learned his story, I learned that he actually wants to be in that series and everything. So I hopped on this thing the very next day. We did the Friday practice. So it was basically Saturday, we had 2 warm-up sessions, and then we're going racing after I haven't ridden it at all. So no pressure.
Yeah.
But I went out there and I didn't even put the lap timer on. I just had to learn the bike. And first session was great. Second session, I started getting more comfortable with it. But the second is my mind flipped into 400 mode. So I came out of the last turn at Black Hawk. I went down the straight, changing up. And normally on this bike, you want to brake pretty reasonably. And I braked on this thing where I brake on my 400, which is after the one board.
Oh, no.
I grabbed the lever, the back stood up, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to make this one. I'm just going to have to lay it down here. So I went off the grass onto the grass, and I just dropped the bike. I remember the bike stopped, and I just flew off as far as I could. And so I literally bounced against the tire wall at the end there and came back to it. I felt it. I felt real groggy after that, but like it felt like I had to run like 5Ks to get back to that bike. I didn't know how far I slid on that thing. It was crazy.
Quite a ways usually, when you get separated like that, a lot of times your bike goes further because it's a bigger mass, but it can get caught on things. It depends.
Exactly. I mean, that's the crazy thing is I'm used to our tracks in South Africa. We're a little bit more like the Euro spec. So we have a lot of the kitty litter around all of our turns. And over here, it's like just this beautiful tar, and it's got like the cool rumble strips and this amazing grass.
Yeah.
And like nothing else. And I was like, what the hell? When you hit that thing, you just end up accelerating instead of stopping. It was absolutely crazy to us. But in that moment, I did actually feel it freaking flying along. Jeez.
So yeah, it's one topic of debate that people, I don't know, some people want more runoff because then you would probably not have crashed.
Mhm.
But if there's more runoff, then people make more dangerous passes because then you're like, well, my friend's not going to die. He's not going to crash. He's just going to run wide, and then he'll be pissed off at me. And he'll probably do the same thing to me in turn 3, So like it does create problems. And then you got track limits issues where like, well, who's going to, in an amateur race, there's no technology. You can't put sensors in the track at Black Hawk. That's never going to happen. So you have to go by race control, and race control doesn't have video cameras of every single inch of the tarmac. So how do you police that? It's a technological problem in a way. And but my end is I want more runoff because at the end of the day, it saves riders money, it saves riders lives and health, and you can race for cheaper. I mean, think about the cost at like a MotoGP event, per se. If they were to pave another 50 feet on the outside of both sides of the track, that's a lot of space. You probably wouldn't need much more than 50 feet. If you did, you got it really, really wrong. So the cost of paving that would be a lot of money. But the cost of one MotoGP event, of the crash damage that would be saved, would pay for it in one event, right?
Exactly. That's the crazy thing. I mean, I see where you're coming from with that. I really do. But I mean, just speaking purely as a privateer, self-funded racer, it would be so much more beneficial. I mean, I've heard stories of these guys, like one of the guys, he races in R6. It rained the night before that he was going out there, and he was riding around, he was doing pretty good, and then he, of course, crashed. And he said that with the mud build up and everything, it actually snapped his swing arm.
Oh, wow.
The way it just broke everything when it hit it. And like you said, it would be, if there was just a slight bit of extra runoff, you wouldn't have had that situation. You would have been out for the next 2 races,
Right. But then there's the original guys or the old school folks who would say, there's track limits for a reason. You got to race to the track, and if you go off, there has to be consequences. I don't like the has to be consequences part. I think you can have it be better than that. But I get it. It's more ballsy if there's no runoff and you're making that pass. It has to stick or you're going off.
Yeah, that's that's definitely something that I have to agree. It's kind of a case of I understand consequences, but I would prefer to have like oh damn, I ran slightly wide than have to pick my bike up out of the grass
Yeah.
kind of thing. I mean, it wouldn't, in my personal opinion, I don't think it would make you that much of a like where you got to stick to track limits, because the fastest line is always going to be on the track, you know.
Right.
You make a certain rule and everything, but it's always going to be on the track. If you end up going out there, there's a reason why you're out there. It's not because you want to be out there.
Right. Or then I don't know if you follow Formula One, but the controversial last race of the season where there's, Lewis exceeded track limits, and when Max passed him that first time in the tight chicane, he just decided, I'm going to go straight. I'll just skip the corner, and I'll just give up the time later. So
Yeah,
there's issues with that, but everybody's got their opinions.
I get that. I mean, personally, I don't see that. I mean, I also see in how MotoGP, it's becoming really stupid, like way overboard. How you see basically the edge of his tires hanging over the edge of the rumble strip, and all of a sudden his lap's cancelled. It's like, you got to call a line somewhere, mate. It wasn't that bad. And especially like in battle situations, especially like with the Moto3 guys, that those guys are, it's anarchy in that freaking class. And when you get pushed wide, that guy, you can't have his lap cancelled. He was pushed out. I mean, you can't really count that one kind of thing. It is a weird game to kind of watch. Me and my dad have watched the whole MotoGP thing and see them, oh no, he's lap cancelled because he exceeded limits. We're always like, what the hell? Seriously?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard because if on the last lap they exceed track limits and go into the green paint by 1 millimeter, or a feather's distance, just nothing. They get demoted one position, which is demoralizing. It's your first victory, or you got a podium, or whatever place it is. It doesn't matter, but it's like, oh,
especially
dang.
because, like, how has that benefited him?
Right.
If he's barely hung over the edge, how has that in any way benefited his lap time to get more of a jump on someone else?
So, well, I don't know what the solution is. I'm just talking about it.
No, I get you. I get you completely. I definitely, I agree with you in that sense. I also agree with, I'm used to running with Kitsilitsa, rumble strips, runoff, all that kind of stuff. So like when I came here, Black Hawk feels like I'm riding through the forest kind of thing. It feels absolutely crazy. And I think that's also where I would really dig to be at, like a Laguna Seca or something like that, where it has that kind of stuff again. It would be really cool. It is crazy to me how like Road America has some and doesn't have some. Like Turn 1 in Road America has got that massive runoff on the side.
Yeah.
Like you can understand why that's the big overtaking spot, because you can push him out. Doesn't matter. This tar there, you'll get back in. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I see, but then I see again what those guys are saying. You can do stupid moves like that because it'll be fine. So yeah, that's a hard topic to cover.
It's tricky, but I'm just here to talk about it, not to make any real opinions. I'm just having fun talking to people.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I'm just the racer. I just do what race coordination says. I can't exactly have opinion on that.
Sure. And I guess I'm becoming, not race direction yet, but I'm working for racing and working for race series. Like I've worked for WERA and CCS and Moto America so far. Going to be working ARMA in the next couple of days here.
Nice.
So just doing flagging and communication at the side of the track. If someone were to fall down, I'm out there running, picking up bikes, or displaying the flags, yellow flag, red flag, and so on. So it's just, I like being there, and it's not the best paying job, but it's cool. It's a cool job, and I like being around racing. And I'd rather be out there riding myself, but this is one way I can still be involved in the sport right now.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, man. I actually really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's something like.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's just something that like I don't think is really seen that much. A lot of these guys that like risk their weekends having to watch us ride around the track. I actually really appreciate that, mate. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. I would recommend it to anybody who likes racing. I mean, maybe not, you're not going to do it for a full-time thing, but you could always step in if needed, or to see the sport from another angle. It's pretty eye-opening. I've never, like, as a racer, I'm pretty sure most racers haven't heard the radio communication that goes on between race control and the corner workers.
I can imagine, yeah.
And so some of it's a little funny banter here and there, but for the most part, it's extremely concise. You should say like 5 words to get your message across, no more. Like control 3, um, turn 3 to control, and then say what happened, your incident, rider down, riders up, on and off, he's continued, and whatever the situation is, or need to shut it down, rider is not unresponsive, he's not moving. We need a crimson flag. You never say red. There's like certain words you're not supposed to say because only the race director says red flag. Because if somebody says, oh, the guy in the red bikes, another corner station is hearing that, everybody's hearing the same communication. So another corner station might think, oh, they said red flag. So then the red flag would be shown and it'd be a disaster. So
Okay, I see that. Yeah.
there's certain things you never say. You're not supposed to say riders' names. They're supposed to use numbers because if a local news organization heard it and the rider had a bad injury, they could broadcast that to the news station, and you don't want that data to get out. Everything's supposed to be super shut down. You don't post on social media like this guy just crashed, he's in an ambulance. Like you don't do that kind of stuff.
I get
You gotta respect the privacy, and if it's a professional race, you could be on camera, so don't be picking your nose. You gotta be aware of what's going on. Don't be sitting down. You can't sit down when bikes are on track. That's the hardest part about it. It's just you have to stand pretty much the entire time, for like 8 to 10 hours a day. And sometimes like there's certain corners that have no shade and do not allow canopies. So you're just standing out there in baking hot 100-degree weather with no shade.
That sucks, man.
Other times, like you have a nice pagoda on top of you. Lunchtime, sometimes they provide lunch. They provide water. You usually get discounts on like concessions. So you get into all the VIP access areas. You get to talk to the riders. Like I've picked up a whole bunch of pro guys now. I did 8 events so far, and looking to do a lot more this year.
Nice.
So like Travis Wyman, there was I'm gonna forget off the top of my head now. I'm under pressure to name them all, but yeah, man, it's cool. Stefano Mesa at Barber. At Barber, we had 66 riders at the Moto America round where it rained. 66 riders crashed in one day and Saturday. Not throughout the whole track, but it was the record. I've never seen that many riders. It was incredibly rainy and wet, and people were hydroplaning. But
I remember that weekend. That I couldn't believe that they still ran that weekend. I was serious.
Well, they delayed it. Contrary to popular belief, they delayed many times because of the rain, and they had the pace vehicle, the safety car go around and check out different stuff, and they got brooms out and trying to sweep the track of standing water. So it was tough, and they shortened the races, and it was hard to find a dry spot that entire weekend.
I don't think there was any dry spots for like the next 2 weeks.
That was
hectic.
I was camping the entire time, so I was just out there in my tent trying to stay dry.
Oh, shit. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing a super low budget, and because I'm flying down to the event, so basically most of my earnings are gone on the flight. So I'm just trying to conserve my money and just camp there, don't get a hotel.
Damn.
So, and I don't have a rental car, so I'm just like bumming off of people. I usually make a friend and they drive me around somewhere.
That's crazy shit. I see what you mean by the numbers thing though as well. I mean, I've gotten so much flack from my freaking numbers because me and my dad, we again, my dad wants to have the prettiest bike there. We do our own graphics kits and our own stuff like that. And of course I want to have the flashy like MotoGP style kind of numbers. At every CCS event, I have to have some sort of different number because I refuse to have just a plain number. I don't want that.
Yeah.
So even in my 870 right now, you'll actually see this camo inside of it. So from a distance, it's legal, but up close, it still looks nice.
So you got some modification to it.
Yeah, I refuse to have just something plain. That's one thing that me and my dad have worked on. We decided that because the racing world is big and flashy as it is, you got to try and stand out, especially with us being privateer. We want to we want to catch the attention of a lot of people. So and also it's just really fun. We like to have our stuff look real nice. So we've actually just on the hush hush, we started our own graphics company. We're trying to get that started up and everything, and we're getting there. There's been a few dud kits made right now, but it's looking pretty cool, and I'm hoping to start actually providing that to other artists, giving them like actual graphics kits and stuff like that.
Oh,
Because
heck yeah.
it is something that I really want to do that's like part of the business that I know would help out a lot of other guys, because I mean, it's freaking crazy trying to get kits over here and get that designing and all that kind of stuff, and the cost of it. And I know a lot of guys really dig it, so that's somewhere where that I want to help out,
Yeah, for sure. So you're a graphic designer?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've pretty much all of our bikes back in South Africa, over here and everything, me and my dad have designed. So we love racing. We watch racing all the time. We've seen stuff. We watched all World Superbike, all of MotoGP, all of that kind of stuff. And my dad decided at like a very young age, I want my bike to look exactly like that. He wants to have it look crazy and in your face and all that kind of stuff. So we've watched designs and everything. And long ago back in South Africa, my dad got like a vinyl cutter. So it just cut out the layers. And I remember watching him at night, to build up a sticker, to have like all the colors, you had to put each layer on top of it kind of thing. But he wanted it to be right. He wanted it to look exactly like that bike. And I just naturally got into that game as well. So I got the software, a couple of years ago, actually, and I've been designing with that. And we've recently just got ourselves an actual vinyl printer, so we can go and do the crazy kits and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I've done a couple of bikes. I'm pretty sure I'll send you a couple of pictures of the bikes that I've done and that I've raced. And we've had a lot of influence. We had a guy at home that it was purely just his job was to get into the graphics design. And I remember watching him and going to work and seeing him all the time and like studying his designs and figuring it out, because it's a lot more complicated than just chuck a logo on there and call it a day. It's making your own backgrounds and all that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that really caught me off guard. But I'm really getting into it. I'm really enjoying it, and that's where we got to where we're actually going to make a company out of it. Try and build it up there and actually go out with it and make things for other people.
Yeah, I would recommend it. I'll give a shout out to my graphic company sponsor. I got one, Pop Shadow Decals, Tia and Steve Palella. They are now in Florida. I think they were in Chicago for a while, or suburbs of Chicago. Yeah, they make all kinds of stickers and decals. She's always buying new printers and wider things. They wrap cars and boats and motorcycles, and they started out as graphics, just doing graphics and number plates and different sponsor decals. And I still use them. That's what all my stickers are made from, Pop Shadow Decals. I got like a 3-inch sticker. I got a 6-inch sticker. I got the 12-inch, and I just bought a 2-foot sticker that's on the back of my tailgate on my truck for Eric Swahn Racing, the logo right over here. That's you can't see it too well, but that logo is on the back of my truck and 2 feet wide now.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I would recommend, anything you can make and you make custom, it's usually pretty good margin, because you have to charge like for your creative time. And if you're good at it, there could be a market there. It's from a racer to another racer, like racers are always looking for that. And I'm sure you could even branch into, street riders and all that. Not trying to take any business away from Pop Shadow, but there's always more to go around. They can't handle all the customers, I'm sure, all in the world. There's always more people.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I mean, we're still relatively new to it. We're getting into the game. I've been doing, like I said, we've been doing design since before I was born, kind of thing. So we know what we got to do. This is the first time we're actually going to really jump into that game. And I've seen multiple guys that come past our bikes and they're like, can you do it for us? Can you do it for us? And it's like, well, maybe we should be doing it for them, So you see how that goes, kind of thing. It's going to be really cool. I'm still really new to it. Like I said, it's still hush hush, but yeah, it's something that I am definitely planning for the future.
So one thing as a corner worker, I would recommend that you have a standard width for all your numbers, and you have a really good contrast background, because A lot of times, some people's method to corner working that I think is really valid is you're counting numbers every time you go by. You look at, okay, that's 35, that's number 28, that's number 1, that's number 14, whatever it is. And also, you usually have like a color so you can identify. Like I know a lot of the racers, but not all of them. So like I'm like, okay, that's blue 17, that's green 14, and so on. Or like green and white. Well, that's the Aprilia 17. I have another characteristic or a color or a bike model so I can like identify where they are and how they're getting passed and who's faster than who. And there's a lot of times where it's like, okay, 14, 17, 34, can't read. So, every lap, can't read. I have no idea what this guy's number is. I cannot read his number plate. It's just completely unreadable from the front or the side, and he's got nothing on the tail section.
Fantastic.
And so it's like, okay, well, purple bike, that's just purple bike now. Purple bike, no number. I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that though. I mean,
yeah, sometimes they're too small. Sometimes they have like, I love you, Jason Uribe. I just talked to him for the second time on my podcast, but he's got like a star in the middle of 3 and 6. And everybody on the radio thinks it's 35. Because it's not.
Because it cuts off the leg.
Yeah, because it's not distinct enough, and you have a star in the middle, so everybody thinks 35. So when they're calling, they're like bike 35. They're like, there is no bike 35 on the grid. Look again.
Fantastic. I can really see that. It's so weird coming from the other side. I'm the one that's like throwing my toys. Like I want to have my cool freaking stickers and everything, but now like you said, when we come past, we look very different. We fly past. It's hard to pick that thing up. So. Yeah, I'll be a little bit less painful about it. I'll try and make it a little bit more dealable.
Hey, man, you can still be creative, but just be creative in a way that makes it really easy to read. That's all.
Yeah.
So
I could also imagine Moto America would be a bit difficult then because over there, it's kind of free reign, really.
Yeah.
Well, just know the guy.
The big thing about numbers is if they can't identify you, they don't care about you. Right? Because if they don't know who you are, they're not going to like seek you out. If they see a big Josh Herrin red number 2, they're going to be like, oh, that's Josh Herrin. I know who that is.
Mm-hmm.
It's easily distinguishable.
Yeah. I suppose over there it's kind of different. I mean, that's where I would say over here, it would be really cool if we can bring in like the fluorescent numbers, the bright numbers and all that kind of stuff. But again, the guy themselves, if they have the wrong combo on their bike kind of thing, it just fades into itself,
You could probably do like a fluorescent yellow backing.
Yeah, I did that. Apparently it doesn't work.
I had a buddy, Al Zahui, he painted his bike like highlighter orange, and it was like you could not miss it. It was so bright, it was amazing. So you had to wear sunglasses just to look at it.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of going for. I wanted to blind you as I come past, really get past the competitors and like push them off because they can't see anymore. That's what I want to get. But yeah, it's we'll see what it looks like at the first race. Right now, we got a couple ideas, but I don't want to say anything about that yet.
Sure, keep it under wraps.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really excited about it though.
And where can people find you online?
Pretty much on my main point that I do a lot of my posting and a lot of my information is going to be on Instagram, which is just Jackson_Junior8, no capitals. That's me, and Junior spelled JNR because someone took Junior. Irritate the hell out of me. There on Facebook as well, just under Tyler Jackson. I tend to focus a lot more over there. I'm getting back into the YouTube game. I never had any like actual write-up footage or anything like that, but as I'm going a little bit faster, I'm starting to get all that kind of stuff. But my main information, all that stuff, is on Instagram.
You don't run a GoPro every session and upload it?
Nah, I don't. I don't want people to know where my lines are.
It's just a lot of work. Like all that footage, it takes time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm getting into it. We got all the equipment now. I got to remember to bring it. With the last 3 events, I forgot to bring it. So. But yeah, I will have a couple of stuff uploaded over time.
Yeah, it is time consuming, but it's so valuable to have those images or that video of that awesome pass you did, or maybe you crashed and you want to analyze it, or just looking at your lines and even from just a YouTube video, if you're running data, you can overlay your data on top of it, whether it's the track position or your gas throttle, or even lean angle. You can have that displayed on a video that you did. So it's a pretty cool technology for that. And maybe the reason to put that out there would be, you might gain some more followers. You might find some people who never knew about you. Any free content like that just takes some time.
Yeah, that is definitely something that's new to us, because in South Africa, a lot, again, our currency is kind of terrible compared to the dollar and everything. So it was a lot harder to get like those performance race parts. So we had to really like make a plan with all our race bikes and get that stuff working. And then we came over here and everything's just so easily accessible. It is crazy all the kind of stuff you can get for the bike, stuff that I didn't even think was possible to get. So we're getting all that kind of stuff now and putting it onto the bikes, and we kind of put it on. And it's like, okay, well, what do you do with it now? We're figuring out how to get all that kind of stuff together. But I am starting to get into that telemetry game. And like you said, to overlay it and find that kind of stuff, it does really help with that. That's mainly why I've got the GoPro and all that kind of information to record the track. So I know from now on, hey, I went a little bit wide over there. I can figure out different lines. I can figure out what my lead angle was at that point. See, I can get better corner speed, because your mind is in a completely different place in the pits than what it was on the track. So it really helps it out. I'll have stuff up. I'll definitely put a lot more stuff up than I have right now.
And I saw you on YouTube, actually. I saw you on the Bison YouTube channel.
Oh, yeah. We did a cool video with them when I first got signed in with them. We went down to Bushnell. That was the first time we went down there, and I got their suits, and it was a really amazing suit. But that weekend was a bit of a disaster as well. We just built the YZ, drove 16 hours south to go ride, and it lasted 2 laps.
Oh, no.
And seized up. And we're like, oh, damn. But I was really lucky. We bought the Plan B bike, which is my old 2000 KX250, which feels like an animal as a motard. But yeah, it was really cool to do a video with them. They're really cool guys. They've been helping me out a lot with that as well.
And tell me about your suit design. What do you have for colors, or what's your design on the suit?
So the first suits was just a full-on, let's see what these guys can do. And I just went absolutely crazy with it. I incorporated as bright of a color as I could. I got fluorescent yellow. I got like a cool blue camo on the front and everything. And I made sure another one is I try to copy the Red Bull Rookies riders, where they have their number on their arm, so their flag on their arm. So I had the South African flag on my arm, and I tried to like put a meaning behind it, because again, I don't like to just do things. I like to have a meaning behind each thing. And on that suit, it was kind of like a representation of how we saw America and how the American racing world was. It's bright, it's in your face, there's so much of it, it's just all over the place, it's crazy. And my next suit design for next year is going to be a little bit different. It's a little more refined, it's going to have different colors. But the cool thing is with Bison is it doesn't matter what colors, what ideas you have, they can do whatever you want, because we tested the hell out of them with that first suit. Like inside I had the JPR, which is Jackson Performance Racing, on my arm, and inside there we had carbon lettering on top of that with the fancy stitching, and we were like we didn't think we'd get that, but Stu's freaking Bob, we got every fancy stitching, all the lines and everything around it. It was amazing that they could do that.
Yeah, and they've got gloves and undersuits too.
Yeah, I can't. Up until now, I never raced with undersuits, because I just didn't see much of a point with it. And then once I tried on that undersuits, it just makes such a big difference, especially getting out of a suit, because everything's sweaty and stuck, and it's like you're being reborn. But next thing with this undersuit, you literally just slip out of that. Oh, it was such a big difference. And it's the same as with their gloves. They got such freaky ideas that they use. Like they listen to their riders, so they learned where to put contact patches and where to make fancy sliding pieces and everything for it. It really did seem so cool to me how it wasn't just we make a custom glove, here you go, try it out. They take that feedback in, and the first set compared to the latest set they made is completely different. I really do enjoy that about them.
Do you like to have the fingers stuck together for your 2 tiny fingers down here? Is that something on your gloves?
Yeah, I really do like that, mainly because my braking zones, I do use the 2-finger braking kind of system. And on this bike, we just also got the full quick shifter auto blipper system, so you don't really touch that clutch. And that's just beautiful. I recently just got used to that, and it's like whenever I ride my motard, the bike screams at me because I'm so used to changing with our clutches now.
So you
But
don't even use a clutch up or down now?
no, with the auto blip and the quick shifter, it's like you pull away and you're good.
These kids nowadays, they're so lucky.
No, it's fine. I go back to the prehistoric times when I get back on the supermoto. I'm still trying to figure out how to mount a quick shifter. I know that they make kits for them, but I'm like, nah, I can figure this out on my own. I can get that working. I don't
It's
need that help.
possible.
Yeah, I've seen guys do it. The crazy thing is with me is because of that, the supermotos, I can't go to GP shift.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my bike, it's still standard shift, and I worry because if I go to GP shift on this thing and a normal shift on that thing, I do the wrong way around on this thing, and suddenly it's revving to like 30,000 RPM. Ugh.
Yeah, I see. I always did GP shift, and I haven't rode a street bike for like 10 years now. So I've just been on the track only. So
Yeah.
I switched over and started doing supermoto this year, and I must have 11, 15, 20 times. I don't know. I went the wrong way. I was like, I know how to ride a bike. I swear I do.
Yeah, you pay that and stalling, pulling out of the pits. It's just like it's the worst embarrassment for a person.
Well, see, I think you can rev it to the moon, right? You just got to be really careful with the clutch if you do that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, I'll never forget with that when we first went to the supermoto series. There's a lot of young guys in South Africa, and they're riding on the like on the 65s with supermoto rims. They'd slide that clutch like the entire length of the pits. Oh my God, it was the worst sound ever. This thing just screaming by. Oh, good God.
Oh man, when I was first learning, I didn't know anything about riding. I knew like how to ride on the street. I was a pretty good rider. I could go fast in a straight line, but I didn't know like proper downshifting. No one had ever explained like how you're supposed to do it. So like I was getting faster, and you start pushing things, and now my RPMs are way higher than they ever were. I know that there's this limiter for a reason, but like I started not fully getting slow enough before I do my downshift. I started kind of like using my engine braking more than I was actually braking, and
Yeah.
like, oh, that's not good. That's how you wreck an engine real quick, and I'm pretty sure that's why I blew my engine quicker than it would have lasted.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I mean,
I get that.
I still got years out of it. It's just you don't know sometimes.
Yeah. I get that. I mean, I also when I first started riding, my dad told me when I was like 8 years old, somewhere around there. And my whole thing was I could do everything fine. I just couldn't turn. So I could change gears and everything great, but like we're going down at home, we had like a small farm kind of thing. And we're going down like the length of the field, and I'm going great. I'm going along, I'm changing gears, everything's fine, and then we get to a turn, and I just keep going. And I mean, I rammed my hardest things. I rammed into the wall so hard. It was probably at like 10 miles per hour, but at that point, it felt like the end of the world. I swear to God, I went through it.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy, but like my mind was in a game of like I can do one thing at a time. If I'm shifting, I ain't turning, kind of thing. But yeah, I get what you mean.
And now you got to combine them all. You got to think fast. You got to be on your toes.
Yeah, that's something I'm getting used to the speed. It's the little bikes like the 400s and the motards. I'm cool with that. I've been riding it for a while, but this thing is like a game changer in your head. You got to really get used to that speed and how things work. It's crazy.
And even for like a small bike, in quotes, that still goes 110 miles an hour off the showroom floor with zero engine work.
Oh yeah, I guarantee it. I mean, my 400, we didn't really do much to the engine. We just we slapped an exhaust on there, we called it a day, and like we did all the other mods around it, and it still did 115. Super easy. It's not exactly like that hard to squeeze that out of the bike. It's
And
quite amazing, actually.
now compare that to a car. I mean, what kind of car would be able to do that performance, those performance specs? Like you'd have to spend $100,000 plus to get that kind of car.
Oh, easily. I mean, my best friend back in South Africa, he's a big car guy. We ride together, and we have been riding together up until the day I moved. And he was always talking about like, oh, well, yeah, I want to get this car, I'm going to do this part, I'm going to do this thing, I'm going to do the yada. I'm like, dudes, you can buy a stock superbike from like 2001 and you could flatten whatever you're talking about. It's absolutely amazing, the power to weight ratio of these things. And that's
Even with your girlfriend on the back.
exactly. Like, it's literally got to a point where like cars are amazing. I always think cars are beautiful. They're great. But once you ride one of these things at speed, it's like, well, I mean, really.
So do you have any four-wheel aspirations? Are you into karting or cars at all, or open wheel? Do you have any, would you like to switch over one day to cars?
Well, I mean, I do enjoy it. I have gone go-karting quite a lot, and it was definitely, I haven't really explored it that much. It was definitely something I enjoyed. I've just been sucked up into this world so much, but I mean, I love everything with an engine. If I could race a plane, I'll race a plane. Really, if I had a chance to race one of those, I'd love to. But my main heart and soul is in the box. You know, I can't get that out of my head. It's really just where I am.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's already January 4th. I can't say this year anymore, but last year, less than a year ago, there we go. Less than a year ago, I won a go-kart racing championship. It's just a local event type of thing. But it was 6 events, and I won 5 out of 6 races. The one I didn't win, the guy worked there. So he was just ahead of me by like 2 or 3 tenths. It can be so hard to pass at those tracks because not a whole lot of room to pass, and everybody's being as wide as possible. But yeah, I'm super into karting. I also rented a legit tag kart. It was like a 125 2-stroke. I took that to the local East Lansing kart track near me, about an hour away. Did a full 2-day track day in that. And I actually think it was just a 1-day. Did a 1-day track day. But that was like from 9 to 5. And every 20-minute session you go out. I think it was 15-minute sessions. But yeah, you get a lot of track time. And then I also, this was the first year I did a car track day for a weekend. So I don't have a race car. I just rented a car from a rental app and took it to the racetrack. I made sure I got the premium insurance. And so at first I was just trying to get a real race car. I put it on social media. I was asking around. Actually, a buddy of mine who bought my Triumph Daytona 675, he races cars too. So I reached out to him and he's like, oh, it's in storage. I still got to do some maintenance to it. I'm like, it's not available. I talked to a guy who had Porsches, like legit 2020 current model racing Porsches for GT3, GT4 classes. But those are, I mean, I could have done it, but those are super expensive. I wasn't looking to spend that kind of money. That was $3,000 per day for just the car. But then you got to get the track time on top of that. So I'm like, I'm not spending $7,000 for this.
Jesus.
So yeah, I was gonna get a Camaro, then it turned to a BMW. And both time I reserved the Camaro and then the BMW. Then they told me, oh, we're sorry, it's not available. So they gave me each time like a $300 credit. So I'm like, I just made $600. This is great. And then, so the only other car that was available was like a Chevy Malibu, a completely stock street road car. It did have, it was a semi-automatic. That was the best point about it. But I mean, all season tires, like those tires, I was so impressed, or I was amazed by just the sound level of the tires, man. It was screaming everywhere. Every corner, it's like screaming bloody murder. They're so loud because they're not racing tires. They're not meant for that.
No, exactly. I'm surprised they even stuck. Good God.
Well, I was a lot slower. Like I was 20. I knew the track very well. I went to Grattan over in the west side of Michigan near Gingerman. And I was like 20 seconds off my time in the car versus my fastest time on a motorcycle. So it was pretty slow, but it was a lot of fun, and I'd do it again. But I would definitely like a faster car.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the crazy thing is, just talking about the whole car thing, when we moved here, in South Africa, a lot of the cars are manuals, and over here, a lot of the cars are not. And it's like, I'm so irritated because I'm determined I want to get that manual car. But I mean, like, I know. It's just so irritating when like you go on like an app to search for a car and it's like, oh, we got like 40,000 cars available. You put the manual button on, it's like 100.
Yeah, very
Seriously.
few.
Yeah, but I'm determined. I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna find that. I also want to do some form of a car track day. That could be really cool.
Heck
I, I,
yeah.
de- I definitely, I dig. I got my eyes on. There's like a really cool guy nearby. He built a Fiat Abarth,
Okay.
like a full on like track spec wide body and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I mean, if I got that, I can't not go to the track with it. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of similarities. Your lines are going to be different. You can probably, I was going to say you can brake harder, but maybe not because I mean it's not going to be an issue of locking up so much. You're not going to tuck the front in a car, but um, you can slide easier and it's not a big deal. But when you crash, it can be a bigger deal.
I was about to say.
Maybe not for physical injury, but for your pocketbook.
I was about to say, yeah, that premium insurance is going to come in very handy at that point in the game.
I lost. It just had the hubcaps on the rims. It just had those steel rims with hubcaps on it. So I lost a couple hubcaps. They were flying down the road. Couple corner workers picked them up for me. Like, I think you might want this.
Oh dear God.
And then by the end of the session, since they were just regular brake pads, the brakes were shot by the end of it, and I couldn't finish after the second day at lunch. I was like, it's unsafe for me to drive this car anymore at this racetrack. I need to go now because there was no more brakes anymore. So just using just coasting at the end of it. I can't do this. I got to get off the track.
That sounds absolutely crazy. I'm surprised you made it out of there. Freaking, you're braver than me.
Well, I mean, you just take any vehicle to its limit. So I was like, for a while it was great, and then it's just the heat of the brakes. You can't sustain that. I mean, they're not. I would assume they're not steel braided, so they were fading a lot. But you just take any vehicle to its limits, and you have fun and see what you can do. Keep it on the track. I didn't go off the track. I didn't touch a foot in the gravel.
There you go.
I was just trying to keep it all together and not have an issue. I talked about this before on here, but I did have 2 lockups that scared the crap out of me. I mean, the lockup isn't such a big deal, but if you do it with a car that has ABS on, it can be a major problem.
I could imagine, yeah.
Because it was trying to stop me instead of like maybe stopping to 50 miles an hour, it stopped me to like 30 or 25 miles an hour. Like I could not release the brakes now. It took it over for me. And I'm like, thank God I had pulled away from the guy behind me. And he didn't just ram me in the back. That would have been a bad day. But yeah, I just had this tiny puff of lockup. I was trying to push on the brakes, seeing what the limit was, and I just locked it up just a little bit. And after that, I was like, I'm scared of this car now. How do I turn that setting off? Where's the control? There's no, you can't really turn that off on the fly.
I get that, yeah. It's that as well, like on the super bikes having that ABS. It's, I don't trust that. I could not trust that, because once you feel it, the whole like safer element just goes out the window. You start panicking once you feel that.
Yeah. Now, are you? I know you're on the 400 a lot, but when you get up to the bigger classes, would you want to have the traction control and all these electronics, or do you want to stick to just doing it with your hand?
So, I suppose I'm not really one to say, because I haven't really raced with traction control. I haven't really felt it that much. I remember I'm lying. I have. When I was leaving South Africa, we sold everything. We sold our bikes and everything. And I was invited to a Supermoto invitational race. I got a sponsored ride there with one of the guys. They really helped me out. I really appreciate that. And it was a brand new Husqvarna Supermoto bike. And it had traction control on it. And it was definitely, it feels like something's wrong. It feels off kind of thing, especially with me racing with bikes that's never had it before. So I was like, what the hell? But I eventually got used to it over time and felt it out, and it felt really good. And I suppose now, I mean, right now I don't need it. I've had a couple of moments on this dude, like being stupid, going with like a 400 throttle, coming out of the turn and powering it like I would in the 400. It steps out like hell, but I would say it's kind of, especially if using it for the road, it's kind of not needed. It's not really needed. I mean, you got to really be pushing the hell out of a bike. I can see in a way of like, if you are a new rider and you just bought a 600 or 1,000, then yeah, I can see that big benefit. But as a race guy, you got to start getting pretty high up in those times and everything before you really that traction control actually benefits. Because a lot of the time, some guys will just go like I did, where you just hammer it in the middle of the turn and you end up killing your drive coming out of it, kind of thing. So I definitely, I say right now, I could go faster because I feel a lot safer. Pretty just from that aspect, but I'm not really like riding around the bike going, ah, man, I wish I had traction control on this thing right now. You know, it's
Yeah.
not really like that in my head.
So what is something in your riding that you can you feel like you can improve on?
I think right now my whole thing is I need to focus on just feeling out how this thing feels and getting used to its throttle. You know, I've always been a moron on the brakes. Like I will purposely, if I'm racing against someone, watch the guy in front of me, watch when he brakes, go past him and then brake. So I've always been really happy with my braking zones. It's just because of that I've always been a little bit more cautious on my throttle. So I am getting there. I got really comfortable on my 400 where I could just come out of the turn, just smack it, and like nothing happens. It was really cool. And I tried down this thing, and it wasn't really cool. But yeah, I do really think that's my main area I got to get used to, is just being able to be a lot more smoother with that whole system.
Well, trying to get to 100% throttle as quick as possible without losing any traction is always tough.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with this dude, he's the ECU's got a little bit of a weird map on it. So when you first crack that throttle, it's snappy, and that's not really confidence inspiring. But we're getting that ironed out. It's gonna be all sorted out. But when I first rode it, oh my god, I thought I was gonna die that day. Freaking hell.
Yeah. And what are you doing for your training nowadays? And or in winter time, you're probably pushing harder than when you're actually racing, I would assume.
Yeah, I suppose like right now it's very much a case of I'm taking it a little bit easy. The main season we were riding every single weekend of summer. We were out on the track and doing some form of riding. But right now I've got myself a really cool like progress going on right now in gym with on track performance. Really cool dude. He's been helping me out, and I do usual just 2 hours of gym kind of thing, doing the cardio, doing the muscle. And I've found that riding this thing, I need a lot different workouts than I had on the 400. And it's definitely, it's better and worse because now I'm not so much focused on I have to be the lightest thing possible, because on that bike, I'm racing against a lot smaller people, you know. And now I'm on the 600, I got a little more clout on it. It's like, yeah, it's fine. Don't have to be light. But now, oh man, you got to be strong to ride these things. Freaking hell. So I spoke to him about it, and he's like, he's got me a really cool program, and I've just been loving it. He's really been helping me out. I was having a lot of sessions where I was burning myself out because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was just overworking it like hell. And he came along and he was like, okay, listen, kid, you're doing all this wrong. So it was really cool to have that professional help. And I know it's really going to help me out. But during the on season, it's pretty much just every weekend hitting that track. We got a track that's really close by that I'm hitting. If it's not a race weekend, we're hitting that track with the supermotos, and it's $25 to ride. So I mean, seriously, of course I'm going to be out there as much as I can. But yeah, that's basically the system.
Yeah, I would assume you probably have like thousands of laps in by now.
Oh yeah, definitely. At my home track, I could ride that track with my eyes closed. I've hit it so many times, and it's actually really funny. Like when I go through there in the morning, I take like new people around there. I'm like, this is turn 1, so I crashed here. Turn 2, crashed here. Turn 4, crashed here.
So where have you not crashed? Yeah, I've found that that happens sometimes too.
I've even crashed in the pits. I got cocky one day and tried to do like a circle donut with the bike and just crashed in the pits as well.
I think that was my first or second crash ever. I was trying to do a circle burnout in the parking lot before I was even a track rider, and I tipped it over pretty easily. That didn't take long. It was like I wasn't practicing. Like that was like my first or second try. Like that was, it just happened right away. I was like, well, that's not how you do it.
Fantastic. Oh, geez, it must have looked fantastic.
Oh, I think I put it wasn't a rear set. It was like an OEM foot peg, just assembly, the whole thing. And I put it on my wall for a while. But yeah, I was like, well, don't do that again. That was expensive.
I was about to say, oh, jeez. Oh my God.
Like a couple $100. It's like, man, for one mistake, that's really unforgiving.
Yeah, exactly. And it just goes up from there. Like, oh wow, One little mistake in the braking zone, I gotta rebuild the whole thing. Really?
It should build like a cage. Like if your bike crashes, it'll just like circle. You know, ever seen those stuntman rigs
Yeah,
where
when
they
they
have a
do like the
bicycle, they hit the brakes and then they do a flip?
yeah.
Something like that.
Like you have the airbag in the suits, just make an airbag for around the whole bike.
Perfect. Yeah, it'll just never get damaged.
Exactly.
Maybe
Freaking
one
hell.
day. Or I think really, what if you had some sort of like arm that props up if you're gonna low side,
Yeah,
or an arm that shoots out from the bike that has a wheel on it, and in a tenth of a second.
yeah. Make the bike a tripod. That'll save anything.
It could, man. Maybe in 2050,
We'll get there. We'll get there. When there's no longer tires on rims anymore.
right? Be all flying around in drones.
Yeah, exactly. That's really cool. I've seen that before. That's really cool.
At drone racing, I've seen they use like old stadiums and they just like fly through the concession stand area and like all sorts of crazy obstacles.
Yeah, that's really sick. I watched that. There's even a guy that made an actual drone that you can ride like a bike.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
super
wow.
sick.
I think it's coming. I mean, they have those drone delivery packages and those handle probably 40, 50 pounds.
Hmm. Yeah, that's freaking crazy. I don't trust them. I'm worried you think they'll take me out, but I mean, it's cool that they can do it.
Yeah, for sure. So, is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty cool. It's really nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe we'll see you at the track. Hopefully not in the gravel trap.
Definitely not. I would appreciate that not.
Well, I'm going to take some time, get this edited and posted. I'll be sure to tag you, and we should also tag everybody we talked about, and be sure to share it when it comes out.
Yeah, I definitely will. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It's really cool talking to you.
All right, thanks, and I'll talk to you soon. Take
There
care.
you go. Cheers, man.
Cheers.